how to make venison jerky. Alright guys, today we're going to be making venison jerky. It's going to be a simple recipe. There's not really a lot of ingredients, and you don't need any smoker, a jerky gun, because we will be using a whole muscle here. We have a top round of a deer, hind quarter. I like to make all my jerky out of the hind quarter muscles. They all seem to cut up nice, although I do like making steaks out of the hind quarters. They also make very good jerky. So for this recipe, it'll call for 2 to 3 pounds of meat, and that just is for the marinade. So if you want to make more or less, you can cut the recipe or double it, however you'd like. The dry ingredients you'll need is garlic powder, your salt, pepper, and chili powder. We'll mix all of our dry ingredients up first, and then you will need lemon pepper, or lemon juice, liquid smoke, soy sauce, your Worcestershire sauce, or however you want to say that, or try to say it anyways. And this is optional. Honey, if you want like a sweet glaze to it, you can add some honey. Some people might not like that. I do. So you can add that. You'll need to cut the muscle meat about 1/4 inch thick, no thicker than that. So a sharp knife, a 1/3 cup measuring cup, and then a teaspoon measuring cup are the only two that you'll need. So the first thing that we'll do is we will cut our muscle groups up into 1/4 inch slices. So one tip I have is, as you can see, it's a little bit hard to tell, but this muscle is almost fully frozen. I've let it sit out for a couple hours, but it is a big hunk of meat, and why I like to do it half frozen is it just seems to slice better. We're going to start cutting about 1/4 inch slices. And as you can see, that being solid there, that solid muscle, is a little bit easier to cut. Alright, once you get all your meat cut up, you can set that aside for now. And you'll want to get a mixing bowl. And like I said, we will start with all of our dry ingredients first. So the ingredient list will pop up here on the screen with all the measurements you need. But I'm going to go ahead and I will double this batch because I do have a larger amount of meat. Then I believe I have around 5 to 6 pounds instead of 2 to 3. So I'm going to double the batch and get everything here in the bowl. Alright, now that we have all the dry ingredients mixed in, we're just going to whisk up the dry ingredients here to get them nice and mixed up. And you really could just shake this around and toss it and get everything mixed up. But now we will add our wet ingredients to the mix. Again, I won't make you guys go through all of that, so we'll be back in a second. Alright, now that I got everything mixed up here, all the ingredients in, I'm just going to give it another whisk. I'm going to actually use a spoon. It's a little bit easier. And all of these measurements here, as you can see, if you watch the sped up version of me mixing, you can tell I was spilling stuff and everything. All of these measurements don't have to be exact. You're making jerky. You're not baking a cake. So give everything a good whisk, and then we will get it on the meat. Alright, now that we got our marinade made up, and all of our meat cut, we're just going to pretty much pour this marinade all over the meat. And once that's poured all over the meat, it might be a little bit gross, but just get your hands in there and work everything around so that the marinade is evenly spread. Alright, once all the meat is mixed up with the marinade, we're going to set this meat in the fridge for pretty much 24 hours, 16 to 24 hours. You're going to want to flip it one time, or if you want to, you can flip it a couple times. I'll be flipping it. This is going to soak overnight, so I'll be flipping it once when I get up for work, and then once when I get home before I start to make this stuff. So give it a nice soak, and it'll take up all those flavors and everything. And that's one reason that I like doing a whole meat jerky instead of a jerky gun ground meat press, is that you can't really let your meat marinate overnight like that when you run your jerky through a jerky gun with the ground meat version. So that's another reason I prefer the muscle cut of jerky over a meat grinder. Alright, so once your jerky's been marinating overnight, you're going to want to take it out of the marinade and then dry all of it off, just to get all the excess off before we put it in the oven. So I'm not going to make you watch me do this, but you're going to want to pat all of the meat dry, and then you'll want to get out some toothpicks. This is how we will be hanging them in the oven for them to dry. It just spreads them all out and helps them to cook a little bit quicker. So just get everything patted dry, and then we will get to preheating the oven. You'll want to preheat your oven to 200 degrees or as low as your oven temperature will go. So you can go ahead and dap those dry and then get your oven preset to 200 degrees. Alright, now that we got all our meat dried off, we're going to toothpick everything. Just stick a toothpick through, and then you'll see I'm just laying these down through the oven grates so they can hang and get as much airflow as possible. And once you get all those in the oven at 200 degrees, you're probably going to want to check every hour or so, but depending on the thickness of the cut of the steak that you chose, it should take anywhere from 2.5 to 4 hours. So just make sure you're checking. Alright, as you can see, we got all of our meat hanging nice in order, spaced out evenly so nothing's touching. It's set to 200 degrees, and the last thing that you will do is, it's a little tough to do with one hand, you want to keep that oven cracked a little bit. So you'll just take a wooden spoon ladle and just crack the oven a little bit, and what that allows is a little bit more airflow. And then you'll want to check every hour, half hour, and just make sure everything's cooking evenly. Alright, so it's been about 3 hours. As you can tell, our jerky is dark. It's tacky, dried. I pulled a piece out, and it looks like we're ready to remove it from the oven. Once you get all the jerky out of the oven, you can take all the toothpicks out, and then this is what you're left with, guys. So after about 3.5 hours of cooking, actually, we've got nice jerky, plenty of it, and you can tell that it is done. If you just take a piece, and you can see that it's has that kind of crack rip sound to it when it's done. So that right there is how you make simple idiot-proof jerky with just a few ingredients, no smoker, no special tools or anything like that. And yeah, get eating.